Good afternoon, everybody. This is a Father's Day post, um, kind of a tribute to my father. I haven't talked a lot about my relationship with my father since he passed away. I miss him, um, but I've done a lot of thinking, and part of the reason I haven't talked much about it is, for one, I I usually end up crying every time I start thinking about him. But been doing a lot of thinking about things he taught me. And I thought today was a good day. I wanted to share some of those with you. Kind of in honor of him, but also maybe as a challenge to other fathers of things that stand out to me. If you're a father and uh, you've never taught your son some of these things, maybe you would consider it, because I feel like they're important to me, things that my father taught me. He taught me that the Bible is true, even if you don't understand it. Papa had this unwavering belief that it didn't matter if we understood everything that was in Scripture or not. It didn't change the relevance of Scripture, that the Bible's true. Papa taught us to treat others with kindness and respect. It didn't matter if they were of a different social class or nationality. Um, Race didn't mean anything to Papa. He treated everybody with kindness and respect. He taught us that animals will be nicer to you if you treat them with kindness. Animals deserve respect too. He taught us to stop and smell the roses. I remember we were never very rich. We were never rich at all growing up. In fact, Papa had a largely troubled financial past. But I remember going to town with him one time, and he said, "We're going to stop and get some ice cream." And I said, "But Papa, we can't afford ice cream." "I know we can't." He looked over at me and he said, "Son, you still got to stop and smell the roses." Papa taught us that taking care of family first was more important than just anything else. He did that well. In fact, he refused to stop taking care of Mama, even when he barely could take care of himself. He was still trying to take care of her. He modeled that for us. When 11 years ago, when we lost our baby in utero, they dropped everything and drove up the next day to be here for the funeral. That's the way Papa was. Papa taught me to enjoy planting things and reaping a harvest. He loved the soil. He loved seeds, planting things in the ground, tending to crops or his garden, and yielding the results. He was never happier than if he was in the field or in the garden. I remember when I was very little, watching him run the tiller through the garden, and he would plant big rows of corn and beans, and then later in life we had the farm up there in Wisconsin, and the garden kind of got left to Mama and us children. His focus was the crops. He grew some of the best corn in our neighboring farmers, with almost no pesticides, no herbicides on that corn. And he studied the soil. He was always fascinated by the soil and the science of the soil, and growing things the way God intended them to be. And I developed a passion for that too. Papa taught us that you can run old machinery or old cars, but preventative maintenance is your friend. We had lots of breakdowns throughout our life. But I'll never forget one winter, he went through the forage harvester, spent a lot of time on that machine. And the next summer, when we chopped haylage, I don't think that thing broke down one time, and it cut like a brand new machine would cut. And today, I still utilize that in my business. I run older machines, older trucks, older equipment. And yes, if you've been following this channel, you know that our personal vehicle just broke down, largely because it's high miles. And we're fixing it. We'll have it up and running in a few days. But preventative maintenance is your friend. He taught me how to level and cap a silo. If you're a farmer, you know exactly what that means. If you're not, it don't mean jack to you. But if you don't know how to do that, you don't know how to deal with a silo. He taught me how to shorten or repair a broken roller chain. That's a skill if you run machinery. And you kind of have to have somebody show you how to do it. It's hard to learn how to do it without somebody teaching you. Same thing with a U-joint. I'll never forget the first time he showed me how to change a U-joint. And we didn't have no fancy tools. We just used a socket set and a vise, I think. If you need to know how, I'll show you. I had a good teacher. Papa taught me that it's okay to ask for help. He often asked for help from people. When he didn't know something, he would ask questions. And I've learned to do that too. Papa taught us that it's okay to be poor. Our wealth doesn't define us. It's more important to have other things in your life. Papa taught us that all of our actions have consequences. Some good, some bad. But there's almost nothing that you do that does not have a consequence somewhere. Papa taught us that most repairs can be done. We can do most repairs, or we can learn to do them with the right tools, whether that's with the house or with machinery. I think in later life he frequently sent his mechanic work out to a shop. But most times we did it ourselves in the early years. I don't remember it because I was too little, but he used to tell a story of how he changed a motor in a station wagon from a gas to a diesel, and they did it under a pecan tree with a chain and a hoist, because that was what he had to work with. Now, he didn't do it by himself. He had some help, because it's okay to ask for help from people who know more than you. He taught us that the school of hard knocks will take you farther than most formal education will. Papa never had a formal education. And the school of hard knocks is a hard teacher, hard taskmaster, but it will take you someplace if you listen. Papa taught us that long work days are okay. Shouldn't be the norm, but you should expect that you're going to have to put in some long days at some point in life, and that's okay. Papa taught us that a neat job site will facilitate repeat business. I'll never forget back when he had a plumbing and electrical business down in South Carolina. Every single day we swept the job site at the end of the day. And sometimes we would be cleaning up other subcontractors' trash while we were doing it. And I would get upset about that because I was little, and that was usually my job to be sweeping or picking up the big stuff that couldn't be swept. And, why are we picking up this? And why are we picking up that? That's not our trash. And he'd smile and look at me and he'd say, Doug, because it's what we do. he was very successful in South Carolina with his plumbing and electrical business. And I think, I know that part of that was because he kept a neat job site for his contractors. Papa taught me how to read a tape measure. I've heard people talk about interacting with other people who don't know how to read a tape. 4 short lines and 1 little one or something like that. That was never me. He taught me from a very young age what a 16th is, what an 8th is, what a 7/16 is, and how they build on each other and what that means. It's good stuff to know. Papa taught us that when you go to church, you should dress your best. He was a real dresser. Cowboy boots and a suit most Sundays. I always appreciated that about him. Papa taught me how to shave. I think the first time I tried to shave, I cut myself pretty bad. And he come to me and he said, "Doug, let me teach you how to do that. There's an art to holding a razor just right so you don't cut yourself." He taught me that. I remember Papa reading to us when I was really little. Not very much. I don't remember it very much. And most of that memory's faded by now. But I have these real vague memories when I was 3, 4, 5 maybe, of sitting on the couch and him reading us a story. Those are good memories. And I've tried to do that with my children. Papa taught us that helping make your children's dream come true is part of being a good father. I think there was the period of life when we were the poorest. We lived in a house that the roof leaked so badly that we would leave church in the middle of church to go home and set water pots out all around the house because there was like, I don't remember, 11 spots I think where the roof leaked. And we had 11 strategic spots throughout the house where we put a water pot so it wouldn't ruin the floor or the furniture. And even in the middle of that, we weren't paying any rent on this house. We were allowed to live there for free. Even in the middle of that, we saved up money, as kids did, for a pool. And he went and bought the sand and spent a Saturday leveling out a spot and helping set this pool up for us kids. It was just a little 12 by 36. And we'd earned it by 5 cents and 10 cents here, saving our money for a better part of a year, I think. And I don't think the sand was in the amount of money we saved up. But he went and spent the money on the sand to make that dream come true. And there were other things he did after that. I remember when he bought our first horse, Tonka. I'd wanted a horse for a long time. And one day he just showed up with a horse. And sadly, Tonka didn't live for a whole lot longer after that, but that was part of Papa's efforts to make his children's dreams come true. And he wasn't perfect, by no means. I'm not telling you all the things that are negative, and I'm not trying to paint a picture of him being perfect. I just wanted to share some things that Papa taught me. I got a few more. Papa taught me how to drive a stick shift truck. That's a skill. Not every car has one. Most cars don't. But if you don't know how to drive one, it's a good thing to learn. Papa taught me how to fall and cut up a tree to heat your home with. And to not wait until October to do it. He was a stickler for getting it done as early in the season as possible, fill the woodshed when we were heating with wood. Papa taught me that to rest on Sunday from unnecessary work. There's a lot of people that don't take a day to rest. Papa taught me that church attendance was important. If the doors were open, we were almost always there in our younger years when we were at home. I know in later years it wasn't that way with Mama's declining health, but when we were younger, the doors were open, we were almost always there. That was important to Papa. It was what he viewed as being a response to his understanding of the Bible. Papa taught us that being in love with Jesus is the most important thing in the world. I'll never forget the conversation we had weeks before he died, where he talked about his relationship with Jesus and how much he was in love with Jesus and had a relationship with him. And it didn't matter to him what happened to his body. He said, the only reason I would stay is to take care of my wife. Other than that, nothing else on earth mattered to him anymore, because he had discovered a new level of relationship with Jesus. My challenge to you, if you're a father, or if you're going to be a father, teach your sons and your daughters the important things in life, how to love God and serve Him faithfully. You're not going to be perfect. I'm not. But I just wanted to share these in honor of him, these memories in honor of him on this Father's Day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.